Excuse me.
Okay, good evening and welcome to the January 15th, 2014 Tilton Budget Committee meeting. The first thing we have on the agenda is the meeting minutes, or the meeting minutes from January 8th, 2014. Let's take a look if you haven't had the opportunity. I can mention that Jane Alden is out ill tonight. She's got a bad cold or whatever. That's what has inflicted her. Eric's going to try and make it later. He has another conflicting meeting that he couldn't get out of. He's going to try and make it later on this evening.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to accept the Tilton Budget Committee meeting minutes of January 8th, 2014.
We have a motion to accept minutes.
I abstain, I wasn't present.
Do we need a second?
Yeah,
Second.
and we have a...
Oh, sorry, I was spaced over here.
Yeah.
Taking my stuff apart.
And we have a second to accept them as written. Any discussion on that? No discussion. Okay, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Okay. Okay, the next thing, we've got our business at hand is producing a budget for the 2014 year. One of the things we have to keep in mind is that it's what the numbers that the Budget Committee come up with and put in here is what's the town is expecting us to deliver at the town meeting for the voters. So it's not necessary for us to wait for a final version of the selectmen to produce their budget, to come up with our numbers. We can still go ahead and produce our budget. If we didn't produce a budget, then the selectmen's would be the default budget. And anything we do if we come up with some numbers or some suggestions or changes, especially because we're not all present, we could alter them. I don't like if you were out or somebody was out making a vote on something that, especially if it's really close.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Last week, we had a draft of the Select Board's budget because it had not been voted upon at that point in time. Has that been voted on at this point in time? Are there any changes to that budget as we received from last week?
The selectmen voted on their budget, and they accepted the changes that were made, and it is what it is.
The ones we gave you last week.
Okay,
The
so,
Budget Committee can put any figures that they feel are necessary in those columns.
Right, but we held
The
off.
selectmen have to present their budget. So last week, if we had a Budget Committee budget in front of us to vote on for me, it would have been a different story, but we weren't. We were sitting here approving the selectmen's budget,
yeah,
which we don't have to do. The selectmen are required by law to present their budget to the Budget Committee to the 5 or 10 days before the first public hearing. The Budget Committee is charged with preparing a budget. Typically, we use the selectmen's budget as a base.
And then I guess point of clarification for myself was, we had started that process last week, and we were told that we should stop because the Select Board's budget had not been completed at that point in time, and that we should wait until that Select Board budget came forward before we worked on it. So my only question is, that is now appropriate? I'm just trying to sort through, because if we're making a separate budget, then we could have started this process last week.
we aren't making a separate budget, we're making the budget.
Right, but we could have started that process last,
Yes.
but we were then told we should not.
Exactly.
That's because the questions that I asked were, are you approving the selectmen's budget? Yep. And it's my fault for not realizing that perhaps the Budget Committee didn't understand that they make their own budget,
Right, and that, it was,
based on whatever figures they feel is necessary to create that budget.
And
But
that's
the
what-
answer to the questions I was getting, and the questions I was asking was directly, are you voting on the selectmen's budget?
and I don't
And it
want
was
to belabor the
yes.
point, but when I brought forward the motion for the administrator's part of that budget, I was using their numbers, and at that point in time, the motion was stopped, because we were told to wait for the Select Board's budget to come forward. So I would like to, at that point in time, just for the clarification, for next time, because that process should have continued at that point in time.
Yeah, one of the things that was going on is, and my answer, first, we had the sewer, so it took up a lot of time. And it's nice to have both, the information, what the departments want, and the selectmen's tilt to it, what they recommend, for us to, come up and do that. And, I think the idea last week was more, let's see what both consensuses are, and then we'll decide from there. And that's why we backed out of the motions. And today we've got a couple people short, but...
Right, that's what I'm saying, because at least last meeting, we had a stronger membership of the board, or more representation of the board for that to occur.
Sure. Well, this week, what we can do, like I mentioned, we can go through, we can vote on some numbers, and after that's done, the numbers will be put into there. It'll be given back out to us at the next meeting, and all the members can take a look and see if there's anything that they'd like to re-bring up. But we could probably get through some of these, especially some of the numbers that are, like retirement. We can't really change that. We're stuck with that. So we might as well fill in as many blanks as we can, and then, if we get to some of the other ones, we can revisit them or do that next week when everybody's here. But I think we can pound away at a lot of the things that we've got. We only have, 8 pages? It's not too bad. So, having said that, One of the methods, I think last time we talked about just voting on a bottom line in each department. And I'd like to go around and get everybody's opinion on this. If we vote on the bottom line, it makes it difficult if somebody has, before anybody has an opportunity to say, to, like, adjust any amounts, or bring a motion forward to adjust any of the amounts, if we've already voted on that bottom line. So my thoughts is to go through, accept any motions, let's say, when we go to total administration, accept any motions to adjust any of the lines to fit what the budget committee wants. If there are no motions to adjust those, then we could go and vote on the bottom line next. And, and that way it gives, because I think last time we voted on the bottom line, then we amended it. And it starts getting a little complicating, probably especially for Johanna, to figure out what's an amendment to which. And that's, I don't know how you feel.
I mean, that sounds,
I'll go around that way.
I mean, that sounds perfectly reasonable.
Makes sense to me.
Let's move on.
You want that? You on board with that? Cool. Okay, so we can take a look at the, go through, start right out with page, make sure I got the right one. This would be page 1 of the budget. That said draft, but now it's the final, right? So we can cross it out. And that would be the one that we received that was printed on the 8th. So, after looking at those line items, does anybody have any motions or discussion they'd like to make on any of those line items?
This is administrative.
Administrative, yeah. I'm not sure what the numbers were. I'm making a motion here. I'm looking at things like the printing, where it says $1,500, but we spent $314. Let's see what last year was. We're consistently, my thoughts are, if we're consistently every year not spending the full amount that's budgeted, and why do we keep it at a certain amount? In 2011, we spent $963. They reduced that down from, it was $2,000 in 2011. 2012, when they reduced it by 500, it went down to $1,500. I don't know if I put 2012 in the report. And actually, in 2012, we spent $3 over the 1,500. But it seems pretty reasonable.
The question I
You
have
can ask.
to,
I think
printing, is that for outside printing, or is that printing that was done inside the town offices? Both, so it's both the services. This year, it seems to be reduced. Was there a reason that that came in so far under?
Is it under IT?
no movements
Your
approved out.
printers would be under IT, the printing expense would be charged to the department.
Would that be because we budgeted more to have the stuff for recycling went through their budget?
Right. That includes recycling, printing, and their budget. But the town report goes to, town report is the printing.
Okay.
We have to have something.
Were the cartridges bought through the IT budget?
What's that?
The printing cartridges, were they bought through the IT budget?
It goes through the IT budget. Now it does, but
So that may be why the reduced price for this year,
right.
is if you bought them through the IT budget and charged them to the IT budget instead of the printing line, and this may be just for paper.
Right.
Okay.
So this,
Paper in the final process. Okay. Makes sense.
So the previous year, we bought cartridges through this budget, now we're
Before we
not?
had the IT budget, yes.
so you-
Before we had that separate IT.
Your ink, your cartridges go through the IT now. So your paper and supplies for would go through the department, each department.
Would it be reasonable to say that that's why we're not spending as much money then in 2013, because they switched over to the IT department?
Guessing.
Yes.
So possibly if we're spending $314 in 2013, but we're budgeting $1,500.
You're still buying the paper, you still need the paper, you still need the paper to do your cardboard and things like that for the town reports. You still estimate cases and paper to go through to do the work that you need to do. And there's some outside printing that, there's very little outside printing, but the occasion that you do have to have some outside printing. Right now, I think that there is, although the realtor does that,
Are the town reports done from an outside concern, or we do them inside?
we save about $4,000.
Yeah, I was just going to say, because that amount of money doesn't seem like it's enough to cover even the costs of putting the town reports together. So it may be
The
low.
prices, it's under $1.
And we could have ordered those supplies for the town reports in 2012
And had left over. Right. In spirals
and paid for them
things
then,
like that.
instead of buying them in the January of that
No,
year.
I'm just saying, the $200 doesn't seem to be even the amount that you could cover the town report by. That it seems like is it underreported at this point in time? And that would be where that number may be, that maybe it's not the true
I know we'll
number.
have to buy coils this year, because last year we used leftover coils.
Right.
For the
Last
spines.
year, we used the leftover coils for it, and that's why we didn't spend a lot of money, because we still have a lot of, the spiral book.
So the printing, and I guess my question is if we're not spending the money on the cartridges, and we've moved that to a different line item, and we only spent $314 last year, that's more than 3 times that we're budgeting it. We're budgeting for $1,500. Yeah, and I realize that these are all small numbers, but we're looking at a pretty hefty increase for, I'm sure, school district, fire district, as well as our own town, and its taxpayers, wherever we can save, they all add up. So I'm saying,
$500 off it.
I'm going to make a motion that we change line item 413099-330 for printing from $1,500. I'm going to recommend that the budget, or have the budget committee recommendation at $1,000. That's my motion. We have a
Second.
motion on the floor, so...
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, I'll call the vote. All those in favor of changing the line item from, recommending $1,000 for the printing, say aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved. Okay. Same thing, we're looking at administrative training. I don't know how much it was previous years.
That's a hard one, because it's like this year last year we had one selectman come in, and that was me. I've been to selectman school. This year you have two positions up.
Okay.
And also the conferences that they go to, the town administrator goes to the conferences. Last year she wasn't able to go. The New Hampshire Municipal, so...
I think typically we spend that,
Right.
so everybody seems...
And the possibility of having 2 new selectmen this year would go to school.
Catherine, how much is the cost approximately for sending one of the selectmen or select women to that school?
Is it 400?
400 to 600, I think.
Let's figure around $400, give or take, you decide.
8 to 1200.
So if you had 2 go, you could be looking at $800.
I feel pretty comfortable with that.
No.
Might even be a little short. I'm not going to hang on to it. Horrible.
Is the town going to incur any additional expense for the executive counselor?
Yes, that's going, you see that in the town clerk's line. We had our,
Extra.
give us an increase for that because there's 2 extra elections. One of them will take place on the 21st of this month, which is the primary. And then the other election will take place the same time ours does, but, you know, there's more expense to it. The primary one is the major expense, because you have all the ballot clerks, the supervisors, the moderator, attending a whole day's worth of meeting that we would normally wouldn't have to have. So everybody better go vote to make sure it's worthwhile.
Should charge people. I'm just kidding.
Charge people.
Nobody show up. $5 cover.
The next line, I don't know, does anybody else have any, going down the page?
I was just going to ask about the town hall maintenance. I just lost it. I'm trying to find it again.
Man, that's...
It's,
25,000. 440.
340. Equipment maintenance?
No,
that's equipment
town hall
maintenance.
maintenance and repairs,
You're down
line
in,
440.
the second page.
That's a number of different things.
Did they ever do the masonry repairs on the wall out here?
No. That's scheduled for this year. I was getting estimates. For budget period.
The doors on the front of the town hall have to be refinished. The steel trim when you look out front has to be dealt with. That's going to have to be scraped, painted, and there's gaps between the foundation and that steel that's going to have to be sealed. We have to do something about snow falling on people at this door.
It's only Gene that gets it.
No, Tim got it.
Tim got it.
We almost lost Tim.
Yeah, get those, probably the mason there at the same time.
So we're getting estimates now that are not just budgetary, but so that we can go forward and do these things before other things come up that we, you know, like the PD, we had to spend it on the PD last year.
Right, so everything got pushed aside last year to the budget sheet.
Another thing, I mean, a lot of those things, refinishing the door, caulking, things like that, we don't have like a town handyman or a janitor, the guy who works at the park, an employee that can grab a caulking gun and seal the cracks.
It's not that simple.
I know I do at my home, I repair bricks, I,
Bricks is
and
one
I
thing,
cement,
but,
pointing.
yeah, this,
The doors, you take the doors off when you're finishing.
They sand, I mean, I've refinished wood, I've refinished boats, you take them off, sand them, put a new coat of polyurethane varnish. I don't know what we paid last year, or 3 years ago to get it done?
Like,
Yeah, it's, yeah, I forget what they put on them, but it's not polyurethane.
Varnish.
I think, is it varnish?
Yeah.
Or is there a third
And they
choice?
usually use you should have a UV protected
I
one.
think they should put spar varnish on
There
it.
should be a
And-
UV on it, there is not a UV on it.
Oh, they didn't use the UV? Yeah, and you get that direct sun. But something like that, I mean, a town handyman should be able to do that. We shouldn't be paying, I think we're paying
We don't have a town handyman.
$4,000 or something to get the doors.
We have
Yeah.
several contractors, local contractors that, you know, that we have, you know.
The Public Works guys do anything?
We don't have.
There are some things that they do,
Well, who does the park?
the park commissioners.
Park commissioners, and they have a part-time guy that fixes things down there,
Paul Rushlow,
Paul Rushlow.
but
You know, can we-
he's not a wood finisher.
Right.
Well, yeah,
The wood finisher didn't use UV. I'm just saying
Well, I'm
that
just-
there's a lot of
it's
these
like-
handyman things that
There are,
we
and
could-
there's some things they don't do.
Yeah.
I mean, they did the best they could on the kitchen doors in the park, which are very similar to beautiful wood doors like these, but it's definitely a patch.
And it
I
may
want-
not be cheaper in the long run, because that person's job expands to, 30 hours? Then we have to look at Affordable Care Act, we have to look at
Well, and-
unemployment insurance, we have to look at retirement. So all of a sudden, those additional costs come along for our simple handy person.
They don't have a lot of downtime either, because we don't have, he doesn't hire the summer help like he used to. So, and there are things that they do, but there are some things they just don't do. No.
And those are all RFP'd? Contracts are sent out for requests for proposals?
Not everything,
Not everything?
yeah, simple things we,
Simple little things.
Just a suggestion, if we can
If it's a.
try and-
If it's a large, like the mason, that would be,
it's like they repair the park benches, they bring them in the winter, they'll sand them down because it's like automotive. They're set up to in the spring.
So the simple job
Same with the garbage
are
things.
set by contract, or just by an understanding
reduce
on
miscellaneous
how much the
expense
person
line.
will be paid?
Thank you.
Okay, so we get that, oh, we looked down at that. Next line is, oh, do you guys done?
Dan, he has a question. If we have a job that we need to put out, we get a couple of estimates and then we write up an RFP. It depends on how much the job is going to cost.
Right.
So if the job is a couple of $1,000s, then we're going to write up an RFP, they're going to respond to it. But generally, that's what we've been doing. If it's a small handyman job and it's somebody that's worked here prior to, or worked on that area prior to, we pulled that person back in and said, hey, can you do this?
Has the town ever used any of the trustees from Belknap County Jail for projects?
No, but I've used the state prison
Yeah,
prisoners.
yeah, they used to say,
Yeah. So it's really not a contract for that service, it's just come in and do it, we'll give you so much
It's easier to
in
use
order to do the
prisoners.
job, or is it by the hour?
Use county.
yeah, it's a little job.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
Guy with them.
So there's no
County
formal
doesn't want you
contract
to take
with
responsibility.
that person? Okay.
That's as long as it's $500 or less?
Less than
From
five.
park.
Less than 500. Everything over 500
Pass the glass
is a
bid.
bid. And
Okay, good.
And one of the things, I don't want to get too off track, and I'm the one throwing us off track, but it's easy to do. I've always suggested that we have on our webpage a separate section, things that are for bid, upcoming things, so that anybody who, we can get a wider range of people that submit these, instead of having them just in the paper, if we put them in the paper.
We've done that in the past. This past year, we put up a bid for an RFP for the roof on the senior center, for a metal roof, and they were able to get that on the website. We right now have a job opportunity land use office. Gus is retiring, so that job is up on the
think it's
front
Sunday.
of the website.
It's also the Parks job is up on the
Parks
website.
Commission, if there's a job opportunity, there are an RFP, anything that they have to do, they ask them to put it on the website
Right.
as well. So if there's,
Right, because I saw the mowing contracts, the fertilizing contracts,
that's all through the Parks.
so it's RFP'd on that.
Right.
Okay,
So
cool.
we've been doing that.
Cool.
On a regular basis.
Okay, the next, anybody else have?
I have questions about the miscellaneous expenses, and we can go over what Tim sent us as the email. At first, I was thinking that the holiday party on Friday the 3rd, and then a Christmas party on Sunday, 5th, would those be on the 2014 budget? But, January of last year.
Those are just when they were paid out.
They were paid out, right.
Oh, okay.
That's not when they occurred. That's when it was paid out.
So
And if you're looking at the last entry for $750,
that was split.
that has 2 years in it. One was for 2012 and one was for 2013.
Okay, because that was,
Right.
They didn't bill
Is
us.
the holiday party and Christmas party two different things? Is it like a public thing? The holiday party and Christmas party?
The holiday party is the same thing, it's for staff. And it's here at Town Hall.
And-
Actually, last year, we had it next door.
Yeah.
and the
Found it better to have it here,
Christmas party is for,
the staff.
okay, so they have the two parties.
No, one.
One party, we,
Two caterers.
Two caterers.
Oh, okay.
Instead of getting one caterer for all of it, they took a little from this one, a little from that one, a little from that one.
So Polly's and Onions both provided the catering service for that party.
Polly's, Onions, and Tilton House.
Okay, good. Question I have is, who has oversight of this budget? Because it's kind of a
Selectmen.
little far over.
Selectmen.
Okay, and who actually administers? Does the town administrator administer this fund?
Selectmen.
So she's the one that,
She comes to us and asks to expend the monies.
okay,
The permission
You'll
comes
see
from the
that
Board of
there's a lot
Selectmen.
There's a lot of in memoriam. They will come to us and say, should we send, when Heber died, we sent out flowers when
okay.
Bob Hardy's mother died.
I was just looking for the chain. The chain goes from the town administrator to the select board. Select board has the ultimate oversight of the monies, okay.
Yeah.
This year you've asked for 2,000 for that line item?
No, 2,500.
2,500.
We asked for.
Any more questions? Tim?
I'd like to make a motion to lower that to 1,500.
Now, keep in mind,
Just, well, we got a motion on there, and then if anybody has any questions, we can, so we have a motion to lower it to 1,500,
He needs a second for discussion, right?
second for discussion.
I'll second.
And we have a second. And then if anybody wants to ask any specific questions, that they need more information, we'll go. Okay.
Yes.
Stan, since you were first to make the motion,
Well, last year it was budgeted at 2,000. We're looking at the end, being close to 4,000. I think this is a good example of where we could tighten the belt in a way of, granted, I'm sure in memoriam to these people, they were, great people for the town, and, supplies for every meeting, refreshments for every meeting, 2 holiday/Christmas parties, there's almost $1,000 right there. I think just to, like you said, it's only $1,000, but I think this is a good place that we could save the taxpayer a little bit of money.
Go around in a circle and we'll...
I pass my time to Pat.
This is Budget Committee. If you have a question for Pat, you
Question,
can
okay, the
ask
question
her
is, Pat, you
question.
seem to have some concerns about where we're heading with that. Could you expound upon those concerns?
They were, last year, the Budget Committee made a statement to the selectmen that, actually 2 years in a row, that on wage adjustment, and instead of making a wage adjustment, why don't you consider making a bonus or something to that effect? And we did just that last year after 4 years in a row where there are 2 significant people in town hall that saved us well over $4,000 or $5,000 each year on town reports. And instead of doing any type of a wage adjustment, we gave them a one-time, lifetime bonus. And that's spoken about last week, and that was a one-time, probably never again in my lifetime thing.
All set?
That's good.
I have a question for Pat. That's the $1,000 line item for 2 gift cards?
That's correct.
So that was a one-time expense, or that's a
That's
continual?
one-time expense, one time, not an annual. It's
Okay.
one time.
So that's 1,000 of the... That's a number.
Do you have, Catherine? Any comments, questions?
It's a hard topic for me. 4 years ago, I wanted it to be $50, so.
I was gonna ask about the gift cards as well. I didn't know what they were, what they were for.
And this, anybody else?
No, I'm all set.
And can have another chance to talk, because it's a kind of a difficult subject. At one time in the history of the Budget Committee, we had lowered it down to $500 when we were cutting back to try and gain some money because our capital reserves were down. It went up, and it's been around that. My thoughts are, I had no idea we were going to be giving out $1,000 in gift cards for just 2 employees for a great job that they did on the town report. The town report is a duty of the employees and of the selectmen to produce this. We've been doing it every single year. You have to do it. And to single out 2 employees and give them $1,000, that's a lot. The reason why we're saving money is because we're doing it in-house. And my thoughts are, if we take the money that we're saving and just give it away to 2 employees,
But the reason we're able to do it in-house is they're doing the work they've always done. They're compiling the information, most of it comes in electronically, they put it in the format, they organize it. Well, I invite you all to come and join us while we're putting this together.
sure thing.
If you've ever printed out one of these, I mean, it's incredible. We're manually punching the holes, like the one you've got, and those all manually go in. Well, you have stacks of, here's the budget stacks, and it's all separated, and you have to all put it in order. And then you manually, one at a time, feed it in a machine. Well, that's above and beyond what is a typical town will do to create the annual report. And there are many nights and weekends we spend doing this, because we put together, 300?
We have to come in at 2 o'clock in the morning. Things here,
Yep.
restocking paper because the machine keeps going. Then he comes back, sets his alarm for 3:30 and restocks the paper that whole time that they're printing. So they go sometimes within a 24-hour period. They may work 16 or 18 hours in that 24-hour period just to reload and get the stuff printed. Never mind the compiling and chasing people down for everything.
We can't do it during business work days.
Then
Why?
we help.
It ties up the computer. I mean, the copier.
We have 23 printers.
They can't take the
Can't do it
volume.
on those printers.
You can't. But, so
Who are the 2 people? Take out the
We'll give the
$500.
positions.
Yeah.
and-
Oh,
We could go out and have the, like all the other towns.
Who are the two positions that received them?
Who received them?
The positions is,
Finance and town administrator.
Now, to go back to the original point, this was a one-time deal.
Up
Done.
beyond
Do
their
you-
town administrator finance
Yeah,
job.
so you don't foresee this coming into this budget, going into, the gift cards coming into this budget at this point in time? From that, I say no. Yep.
okay. And so that's with the $1,000 of gift cards. That's, my opinion. We're diversified on that, and that's the way it is. The next thing we have on there is refreshments at meetings and staff meetings and
To vote on
food.
his motion?
we're still
still
discussing.
discussing.
Same discussion, okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
In that, we have free coffee here, and I can't see, where I work, we don't have every monthly meeting catered, and we do that. I can't see why we spend, whether it's $90 or whatever, for all these meetings and buying food for them and everything. It's a meeting, and that's, excuse me. And the next thing is, it comes to is giving flowers and gifts. Who decides who are the people in the town that are worthy to take the money from the taxpayers and give them to just one individual? What happens if we forget somebody? A card with the town seal is sufficient to do that. That's my thoughts. And then nobody feels left out. Same with gift baskets and things like that. And we're not a profitable organization. We're not here to make a profit. We're here to take the taxpayers' money and spend them. And when we spend them on coffee and food at meetings and flowers and baskets, I think that the amount should go to the voters. We should make an amount, have it go to the voters at the town hall, and if the town administration wishes to increase that, let the people decide at the voters at the town hall. And that's my thoughts on it. If there's any more,
So you're saying that
we're just, this is just us right here. Excuse me, while we have a motion, unless somebody wants to ask. But anybody else, any more discussion, or want to ask any questions before they make a vote?
I think $1,500 is actually generous.
Is that it?
So, are you saying bring it to town meeting for an amount? So are you saying,
I'm thinking we have to come up with some amount.
so are you saying put in zero and have the voters decide how much?
No,
to put?
I myself was thinking more like 500 or 1,000, but I'll go with Stan's motion. That's what I'll call the vote.
You can discuss each one of these lines at town meeting.
Okay.
It could be upped again if the town wants to do that.
How long has it been, that line item always been there? What's the history of it? Has it gone up?
It's always been there, it went up. I
Oh, it's
can't
gone a
remember when
little
it was
bit.
changed.
It's
Is
been
it-
at 2,000, it went to 500 for a while. I think that was back when we had to really boost our capital reserves and stuff. And then it's been at, I think at 1,500, 2,000, 2,500. It's been, depending on how,
The last
it's for the last 5 years.
15 years.
Any questions or? Okay, I'll call the vote. All those in favor of the motion to recommend the miscellaneous administration expenses at $1,500, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, so we have
4 to 1.
Aye. I'm an aye. I didn't vote,
we
but
have
I'll...
4 to
I'm an aye.
1. So that was 15. some of these other things are tough. And vehicle maintenance, you don't know. It's so tough, you know, $1,000 is pretty, I know we only spent like a little over half, but $1,000 can be one transmission or one that. So we're doing pretty good with that. Supervisor of the checklist, I think we have to redo that this year. The selectmen
They have to meet more often,
meet more often this year.
attend more elections.
There are 2 more elections this year.
I'm gonna go through them.
I have a question. Are you still on that one?
Still in the whole category of
Yeah, I just-
administration.
What is Lakes Region Mutual Fire Aid? And why wasn't it budgeted last year?
Because it used to be paid through our county tax, but they voted to no longer do it that way. The county just kind of became money's in, money's out. And we got a discount, if you will. It was prorated because we were a member of Belknap County. Some of the communities that it wasn't so advantageous for, convinced them not to do that anymore, so the county bowed out. Now we have to pay it on our own.
And it's 4,000.
And that's the price. It's the dispatch for the fire district. It's the dispatch for our fire and ambulance emergencies.
That's not part of the fire
It's
budget.
not, Stan, it's not the district, it's Tilton's is a member of Lakes Region Fire and Mutual Aid,
Right.
and that's their cost to be in the dispatch. Northfield has also a cost as well, direct bill to them.
Do you know what the Northfield cost is?
Yes, it's 31,000. Ours went up 4,000 because we were discounted being through the county. And theirs went down 2,000. Some communities went up 18,000 and some went down 20, like Meredith, Morton Borough.
So guess which communities voted to discontinue?
Yeah, there's some motivation for you. $18,000 to...
And that cost was actually, that's the exact cost that was given to us by them.
Right.
By Lakes
What would
Region.
happen if we did not pay that bill?
We wouldn't have any dispatching.
Dispatch, fire dispatch.
You would call 911, and then they would try to disseminate the call to somebody. I talked to the chief to see it could be dispatched through their dispatch center, but the signals, if you will, are different.
Like the police chief?
The frequencies.
Yeah.
A different repeater or
What did I
something like
say?
that would have
Chief,
to
the
be...
police.
The police chief, I'm sorry, yes. So Belknap County is not set up to be able to dispatch fire calls to the fire department and ambulance at EMTs.
So every call goes through the mutual aid, and then they figure out...
The fire and ambulance.
Fire and ambulance goes through the mutual aid.
The police calls do not.
Yeah, that we... Yeah.
That
go
also
through Belgium.
includes the escalating. If a fire goes from 1 to 2 to 3, in order to call other fire departments to come in, they have to go through Lakes Region Mutual Aid for that to occur.
Think of it as a monopoly, like Marvell.
Right. So in reality, if that was not a service the town offered, we would be in a pretty sad shape.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to, you'd want to have your own fire truck
Got you.
or ambulance.
Who manages that? The county?
Lakes Region Mutual Aid direct bills us, and there's a chief up there,
We have a representative.
and we have...
Oh, we have-
Tilton does.
Right, we appoint, the selectmen appoint a representative. Our representative has always been either Chief Cleary or Chief Over. Now it's Tim Joubert right now. Also keep in mind that the fire commissioners would love to have a direct bill to the district, which would have an additional cost to us, because if that ever went through, we of course have to vote on it in our town meeting and then vote on it at the annual fire meeting. If that ever went through, we pick up 63% of their cost as well. So that's another $14,000 that we would be picking up on top of that.
Do they have any type of budget or something that they produce for our representative?
Yes, they do. And they come to us with the budget, September, October.
Would that be one?
They vote on it in October.
Would that be something that, just like the sewer district now, that the sewer brings it to us? or
No, it's not,
Lockmere?
they're not a district. Think of it as a company we do business with.
Right.
Then they have
Not
their own
something that
operating
They have to
company.
send us a budget where
Not
we
by RSA, no.
look at it.
We have a member, as a sitting voting member, that we appoint there, but we don't have control governing, it's not a governing body.
Right.
And it's not like you can hire somebody else to do
We have
it.
somebody on the board of directors.
Does seem like monopoly.
And that's nice to know that and the insurance, medical insurance for employees, that's a good chunk of the administrative raise and for the taxpayers out there watching and paying attention, that seems to be a nice sized chunk of it.
And that would, in the county part, so that should go down
In the
on
county part.
of our bill.
Well, the county part went down, but their budget went up, way up.
Oh, I see. So
Yeah.
they raised their budget, but then they threw us a
offset it.
bone, they
They
cut it
offset
back
it,
a little
yeah.
bit.
They
So we're
filled
paying
in
the
the
same.
hole.
On paper, they're at zero.
They filled in the hole.
Yeah.
It should have gone down by $554,000, which was what was taken out of the county budget for Lakes Region Mutual Fire Aid. But it did not go down that much.
They filled the
But
hole.
I think that one of the things that we need to remember is that the municipal budget is one part of the tax rate. That there is the school budget, there's the water, not the water, the fire district, all this other stuff added, county, which when you look at your bill, you really need to take a look that when we have our $4 million or $5 million compared to the $26 million that the school district is bringing forward, the county bringing forward that, if you look at how much it costs per $1,000, okay, that's what we're looking at. So we may be saving $500 here. When we put it in that pool, that $500 is not going to be very effective in changing any of that rate.
So,
Could I ask what dues are?
what's the dues?
Line 320? I'm just curious what dues the town, page 1, line 320.
Administrative dues, the 3,500. It's the municipal association?
That's municipal association, that's
Health officer, that's
health officer.
all the different,
Licensing.
yeah.
Licenses and, right.
Everybody else doing pretty good with that? Do we have any more on total administration? Okay, then what I'll do is I'll make a motion that the Budget Committee recommends the amount that the selectmen have from lines 4130, 10-130 through, let me start that back. Can we just say we're going to recommend all the selectmen amounts on the lines that we haven't changed?
Why don't you just accept the bottom line that you've just created, which is 642.54?
Just adjust it.
It should be under the department request, though, because that was the submitted number. Because the budget in front of you is, the selectmen hadn't voted on that number. So if you take the 1,500 off, you should take it off of the 636,801.
So it should be 634,301.
The selectmen's budget is the selectmen's column, correct? Okay, that's the budget that the selectmen are recommending. So here we go again. What budget is the Budget Committee working off of to create their budget? The department's requests, which have been changed, or the selectmen's budget? If we're working off the selectmen's budget to create the Budget Committee's budget, then the amount should be taken off the selectmen's budget.
I'm saying the selectmen's budget because that includes the correct amounts for the health insurance and retirement, and that's been worked out. And I don't believe that the department requests are as accurate for those numbers as the selectmen's budget. Would that be right? Like, for example, town hall health insurance. Department budget request is $68,772, but the selectmen says $76,525. So am I correct in assuming that?
Why don't we just fill out each individual line item?
68,772.
Because we don't be here all night.
No, I know that, but I mean, ultimately, that's what we're doing,
68,772 is the
filling
correct
out
number for,
every one of these, because every one of these columns has to
Right, these are going to, these will all just move over,
have to represent a
and
number.
then that won't move over. That will be in that line.
68,772 is the correct number, yes.
so the selectmen are recommending $76,525.
We're recommending 68,772.
Okay, I'm just trying to clarify something here, because we started it out.
Our original one was $76,525. We made changes to that in the health and that one wage change. The health insurance changed from $76,525 to $68,772.
Here's Tim's letter. The attached budget document includes several changes to the department request column. These changes reflect primarily health insurance changes and a wage adjustment. The new effect of these changes has reduced the budget by $6,645 from the prior budget cut. These changes are only in the department request column because the Board of Selectmen has not had an opportunity to meet and vote on this revised budget. So because we don't have a new budget, then Johanna is correct. You have to ignore the Selectmen's column
Okay, let me ask
and
one
work
more.
on the department request column.
See, hang on.
That's what this
Let me
says.
let me clarify this.
Does it not?
Hang on, everybody.
It does say-
Hold on, just let me ask one question. At the beginning of the meeting, one of the things I asked was, is this the budget it was voted on by the selectmen to be submitted?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm looking at this, and I'm saying that the amount that was voted on and accepted by the selectmen was for $76,525.
No, we voted $68,772.
The report that-
I'm
report
looking,
you guys have is from the 8th. You guys voted on the 9th.
Right.
Right, so we don't have an updated report showing what they voted on.
Our total amount is $636,801 that we're recommending to you folks.
okay. Here, let me just finish one thing. When I started this, I clearly said we're voting on the one on 1/8/2014. And I don't have a copy of anything else. I never received any other budget than one that's dated. Does anybody else have a copy of
No,
one?
I've got
the
108.
This is the budget that he printed out the next day for us that we voted on,
Okay.
and I believe it is the same as the one that you have.
Right, but so that's not,
This is printed 1/9/14. This is the very first page. If you come down here, if you notice up here, on the first page,
Doesn't have prior.
but if we voted on it on the 9th, where's the budget from January 10th?
We're voting, we don't have a statement.
oh, they don't have the same thing.
No.
And
Their
this
budget's
is
not the
what, so we don't have
Read it.
numbers that
Crazy.
real true numbers
Right there.
here.
The only true numbers we have, and let me try to understand this, Pat, is there is no, what is in this 1/8 budget for the department's numbers are what the select board voted on, And those are now your
We don't have the
budget
results
numbers,
of the
correct?
So if you read his,
I
he's
think
saying,
we can clear it up
any changes
by-
that he made,
John was thinking last
Or in the
week we were
department.
voting on theirs because it
Right.
didn't say draft on
and he
it.
said that it
But we found out that it
reduced,
did because it said draft up here.
reduced the amount
correct.
by that amount.
We have nothing other than drafts.
So, all you'd have to do
And
is
when
take
I
the
started this meeting, I
report
asked,
that
has
if you
this
took that
been
amount,
approved?
Is that draft?
And I
now?
read off
get
the
that
date.
amount.
We
This one
approved-
says these changes are only in,
approved
so these
that
final
budget
changes are in this column.
With changes.
in This
With
budget.
the
with the
changes.
changes.
Yes,
And see,
but we don't have a copy of that.
they
so-
didn't get this, remember how at the end of the meeting, he brought up the budget with the changes that we voted on? That's not
Okay,
the
so-
budget that he sent them. If you want, I will go down and make you a copy of this.
No, I don't think we have time to, all of us to digest that, but we should have received that.
John,
There's,
there's only the two changes.
well-
Two changes.
I'm sorry, but I'm going to say this again. We have a process that we have to go through, and all of us have day jobs and all those, and we need to review these things. And if we get them at 8 o'clock, an hour into the meeting, when we're voting on the things, when everybody else got a copy and the selectmen had a copy on Friday, why didn't we get a copy?
You were supposed to get a copy, John, I don't know, but
I-
I'll follow up on it.
Yeah, that's,
That's, don't shoot the messenger.
I'm just saying, it's very
I thought you had a copy.
frustrating. And I also sent emails out requesting.
I'm not looking at what you're looking at.
Well, that, okay, so we're at a moot point on this, that we can't really proceed without a copy of that and to go over it. But we can go through line items all the way through the whole thing, and if there's any changes, and then next week, we'll get the whole thing, we can make any changes from there.
So to clarify for myself, I am looking at not the select board's budget, but the department budget for numbers that have been approved.
You were looking at the selectmen's budget.
We're going to be looking at it when we get a
We're
copy
not
of it.
looking at anything right now
But you're
for,
saying we're looking at these numbers, so I'm just trying to figure out which numbers I'm looking at.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's why we can almost not go through the line
Right.
items because we're still working off a draft.
yeah. Let me clarify a little better here. There are certain
That's
things
what, I
that...
think that's what you're asking.
That's what I'm
Yeah, that's
asking,
what he's
yes.
asking.
Yeah, there are certain things, though, that we can go through that aren't going to change. There are things that did change and that we don't have a copy of. We can come up with a budget and do it at any time. We can come up with it now in final figures. But to get the final numbers on the healthcare and all that, so we have something right, so we get this right, we'll do that next week. So we'll skip over some of these things that are going to change.
Okay, I guess it's just,
On the bottom lines, change the bottom lines, then we can,
then I don't understand
Update
why
that
we
next
brought
week.
this up anyways, and we just didn't continue on and go through those items that we could have done to begin with instead of having the flare-up that we had.
The selectmen need
Flare-up
to
was a
prepare
confusion.
next year, need to
That's what it
prepare
was, and
their
the
own
confusion was
budget.
confirmed.
yeah, just, we know where we're at now, and that this is not the final
Yeah.
budget that was submitted by the selectmen.
John has to work through what's been approved. That's, what he's got in front of him obviously isn't what is approved.
Right, but when I asked the question was, the department numbers are what you accepted as the select board numbers. We have those. That's in that draft right there. And you're saying to me, validating that those are the numbers that the select board used to formulate their budget.
They are in there. There is a change in PD wages as stated last week. The PD wage, because we put a clerical, administrative, and health insurance. So if you skip over administration and PD, you should be all set. Nothing's changed in finance, town clerk, highway,
So we can,
you could,
Yeah, if we-
IT.
so we'll skip over the bottom line on that.
And if there's a line item that we're going to discuss and vote on, someone can ask Pat, was this changed? As long as it's not PD salary and the small things, then we should be okay. Right?
Yeah, the only thing that's changed in administration is
Yeah.
that, but is the health insurance need. It's the lower number, 68,772.
Okay, so we've got that. So do we feel comfortable making a motion to vote on that then? The department request number for the administration, we want to leave that open to it?
I don't. I'd wait to find, I want the January 10th copy.
Okay,
As do I.
okay.
And we can do line items, and we can update the line items, and then that'll make next week that much easier,
Okay,
I think.
so, yeah,
I'll have, Dawn, do it now, Dawn, have an email to us now.
tomorrow, yeah, because then we get the weekend to,
I'll have him give it to Joanna tomorrow.
I would suggest that Johanna take the budget that Tim says, this is the one with the corrected figures, that she makes the changes that we've made in the administrative
our suggestion,
2 lines,
and fill those in.
fill those in, and then we'll have the bottom line, and that can be in the Budget Committee's column. I think Johanna can take care of that.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Next thing, go to the next section, short one, town clerk, tax collector. Just clarification on that, that's a 3-year term,
Yes.
Yes, it's up this year.
and it's up this year. If that's a 3-year elected term, why are we giving municipal raises to a non-employee? That's a,
You cannot give, we cannot give a raise to her. We found that out.
Town meeting has increased her salary each year. They've voted on an increase for her salary.
Right.
We talked about that last week, wasn't it?
So you'll
That's
see
all.
it's a separate
Yeah.
line item.
That's why deputy was an employee, but actual,
1 year.
The deputy-
she's an employee, whereas,
She's
oh,
appointed, she's
yeah,
non-elected official.
yeah.
And only the legislative body can vote that in or out. So they have to actually vote that in. So in order for her to get, any type of increase at all, has to be in her budget for her to get the increase, and they say yea or nay at the
Yeah.
meeting.
okay. Just wanted to make sure I was correct on that one.
Deputies been appointed, and it's a little different.
I was saying the same thing. That's how I caught it last week, it was explained,
Okay.
or one of these weeks.
Anything else with that? Questions?
The only question I have is, administrative, we went up for election preparation. It doesn't seem like tax collector has any different election preparation. There's no need to raise that, I guess.
Because the selectmen are responsible for supplying the election, there's different duties by RSA that each department has. The selectmen are responsible for supplying the materials, setting up, et cetera, et cetera. The town clerk is responsible for ballots, for example. In the case of the primary, they're paper ballots, so we don't have to go to the expense of using the electronic machine, which would mean we'd have to buy a card just for that election. It'll be paper ballot, so you'll be checking in with the ballot clerk, checking out and handing your paper ballot, and we'll be using our old box. So there's not much expense in that.
The labor.
When this is,
salary.
you'll see the labor expense as you did in the administrative side for the supervisors and the moderator.
Because they're hourly, and
Which also, the moderator, I believe, does that include the ballot clerks?
the ballot question and the moderator.
They're in the moderator. The moderator's line, it just says salary moderator.
Well, no, it's in
The moderator supplied us with a budget for that, which,
election registration is is the ballot clerks and the assistant moderator.
Yes.
Line 570, and that's going up because that's hourly and you're paying them.
There it is, yeah.
Each
No, that's
ballot
election
clerk, you
preparation.
have them,
That will be the guys that monitor the box.
salary. The labor portion of that, her job increases, but because she's salary, the wage doesn't.
And I was just asking to make sure we didn't,
Well, it's a good question.
hey, we forgot something, oh my, she's gonna be down $1,000.
We have an opportunity to do it.
There's still opportunities. There's always opportunities. Right up to the floor. Okay. Salary, Budget Committee. How about those guys?
Cut their pay.
Did you want to make a motion to accept the 108,907 as the Budget Committee's budget for the town clerk tax collector?
Want to do that?
I would still feel better if I just waited till the 110 update, you know,
Okay,
personally.
sounds good. We'll have more people here, too. Okay.
We could just confirm with Joanne those numbers, because nothing changed on those.
Okay, we're on page 3. Does a great job with those late fees. I remember, I think, 2 years ago, there was like a real small one. Tim fought it to get it reversed, so we'd have a completely clean record. It was something that was really...
He came in sick Monday to make sure he avoided a late fee on a bond payment. That's the only reason he came in, was to make sure that went out on time.
I have a personal grudge against late fees at
So
the
do
bank,
I.
too. You know?
They love 'em.
It's $2, it'll use $10 worth of gas to get,
They love
pay
it.
that $2.
They live off those.
Yeah.
Was it land use? There's somebody new coming in. And are we going to start, is that the land use assistant?
Yes.
For starting somebody new,
Depends on their experience.
you know, are we going to start them at a higher salary than the person going out?
Depends on the experience. This would be a maximum salary, I think, for us. At least I would look at it that way. You could have somebody that would have, you know, if we get somebody with more experience, that's my question, what do we do? If we have somebody with less experience, we'd start them out at a lower rate, but the person that's in that position now came to us with no experience in land use, but heavy clerical, and adapted very well into the position, has been here, 5 years? But if we have somebody that's applied, that's maybe been, you know, a planner, a retired planner for 20 or 30 years, they're going to have vast experience.
Is this part-time or
This is part-time.
Part-time.
with benefits or
No.
no benefits?
Well, there's vacation time, but there's no,
Need help then?
Yeah.
they have to buy their own health.
Retirement?
Nope. Nope, no
It's just
retirement.
straight.
If they want health, they have to pay for it out of their pocket, 100%.
Hire somebody that's really experienced, that's really cheap. The's got to be people out of work.
Not gonna happen.
Well, Tilton should have had a planner years ago.
I wouldn't do that, not for that
With
cost.
minimum wage,
For
you're...
28,000? No, I wouldn't do that. You have to pay me more.
Yeah, we've gotten really good people. I mean, the person
Yeah.
that's leaving is excellent, and it's a shame she can't stay on, but
Are there any caps on any salaries with the town?
only what? Yeah,
In Budget Committee.
Yeah.
well, the caps are the restriction of the budget itself.
And with the merit raise system, there's always going to be that potential to go up. We can control the merit cap, but actually, it'll still continue on with the merit system. And this town system is actually a fairly low merit system. The school right now is running on a 5% merit system yearly. So we're not even close to where they're at this point in time.
Town meeting has voted out the merit raises before.
Yeah.
Which was a shame, but that's what they wanted.
Yeah, I think like 2 years, we cut out everything.
2 years in a row.
That was when we were going, the first, when really the finances for everybody, people were getting hit pretty hard, and we also had to recover a lot of funds to build up our capital reserve, was below what's recommended.
Pat, which parts of the municipal services are under contract now? Police? Is there anybody else that is under any CBAs?
Just the police.
Just the police? Okay.
We're finishing up the contract now. Negotiations.
Land use professional consulting. Of course, we're going to ask about that because it says 0 and we spent 0.
They didn't really have any cases or need to. This particular year.
But don't the applicants have to pay for that?
It depends on what they're being hired for. Sometimes we hire like region planning or someone else to come in and help us write something. And we'll go over, to make our, tighten up our ordinances so that there's no loopholes and things like that. But yes, if there's a case that comes in, we usually will hire an outside agency to oversee what the plan is that they presented, and the applicant does pay for that. We get an estimate to do the job, and the applicant pays that amount. If it's secure on the site plan.
So if they did it, we'd have to put the money in the budget to pay for it, but we'd receive the money back?
No, the money, you charge the applicant the money, the town gets the money and holds it, and when the outside agent that is hired does the work, and we bill the town, we pay them out of the money that we receive from the applicant.
Okay, and that line that it gets paid out of is, what line is that?
Well, it's not the town's money, so it's held in, it's signed by the treasurer, the money goes in, but I don't believe it goes to the,
I think we have to budget all money, right?
Any money coming to the town has to go through the general fund, except for there's a few exemptions, most of them are with the PD
the planning board
and the sewer commission.
have their own checking account.
The planning board cannot have their own checking account.
According to the RSAs, they can have an account that they hold monies in. They come in from applicants, and then they turn around and pay out of that same account.
Does the trustees do it?
It's the planning board, but the treasurer signs all checks.
I don't believe so.
No, I'll find you the RSA.
So it works almost like an escrow account.
Yes. And the money that goes into that account is not tax dollars. It's monies from the applicant to pay for the peer review.
Yeah, I was in my general understanding that when budgeting, I could be wrong on this one, but that all monies goes into the town account, and that in order for us to pay for something from the town, you have to have a line item on your budget.
I'll bring you the article.
Yeah, to checking.
But the monies that go into a planning board account have absolutely nothing to do with tax dollars.
And it's overseen by,
It's over, well, all checks have to be signed by the treasurer of the town. That's one, and it's audited every year when the town is audited, when that account is looked at. And the only thing that, well, I don't even know at this point, this account is always there, but I do not know whether Gus has maintained the account or, if the money, if they haven't had any money coming in, there's been nothing in the account to pay out.
we don't know if there's any money in that account. Those checks are made out to the town of Tilton?
The checks that come in, yes, they're made out to the town of Tilton or the planning board, either way, and then it's deposited into an account for the planning board, their town of Tilton planning board. And the monies were deposited in there, and like I say, that money was not tax dollars, it was money from the applicant.
No, and that's used for the professional consulting?
Special consultants are the
Professional consulting.
that's in the budget. That is like if the planning board hires, say, an outside planner to come in and help you with the project, anyone that, maybe they've got any soil scientists to come in and help them come up with new regulations, whatever it might be. That has, nothing really to do with applicants.
I guess we spent money in 2012 on that.
I will send you the RSA regarding the other.
316.
Yeah, that's some homework stuff, we can figure that out. So that would be the,
Any on professional counsel.
No, not
Consultant.
as
You say, how much did you spend?
oh, I was looking at the previous 2012.
2012.
What was it
Yeah.
in the previous year?
2012, it's 2011. See, 2011, the expenses for land use for professional consulting was $3,026, but we budgeted $9,000. So, and I think that was back when we were looking a lot with that, up on the, well, probably had something to do with Ernie's, and also up at Business Park, and sewer systems, and all that up there. That would be 2011, we budgeted for that.
The law is 673:16. And Sandy's absolutely right.
673?
not only with the
673:16, it's held in the, shall whenever held by the municipality be placed in the custody of the municipal treasurer. Those where the monies are. Subject to the same investment limitations as for other municipal funds, shall be paid out only for the purpose for which the expense was imposed upon the applicant, shall be held in a separate, non-lapsing account and not commingled with other municipal funds, provided, however, that such fees may be used to reimburse any account from which an amount has been paid out in anticipation of the receipt of said fees, shall be paid out by the municipal treasurer only upon order of the local land use board. Wow, absolutely right.
Yeah, it's interesting, learn something.
It's the magic of a real...
We have been educated,
Yeah.
and I'm not surprised.
Can't wait till somebody says all monies have to go through the general account again. No,
No, we can say, no, they don't.
see, no, and you can ask Sandy, too. We all
And
know it.
she's leaving us. Can you imagine this?
Sometimes you lose. Congratulations.
Where did she get her law degree?
That's where experience helps.
Selectman for 3 years.
Yes.
She looks tired tonight, so she's
No,
tired.
I'm looking at professional consulting 2012, we spent 0, we budgeted 2,000. We had special projects in 2011
Yep.
that were going.
We were working on the impact fees, regulations.
Did we create that fund, that line item then? For specific,
It's been off and on for years.
do we,
Some years it's used, some it's not.
Is it very, that's what my question, is it very cyclable? I mean, there are peaks and valleys in the use of that, depending on what projects are going to be taken a look at by the town?
Well, you can have a case come in that
2,000?
might generate a study from Lakes Region Planning or something. They may not necessarily, the planning board may not necessarily be able to charge to the applicant because they needed someone to guide them, depending on the complexity of it. I can think of subdivisions.
2010, same thing, we budgeted 2,000, we didn't spend.
Now, would that also include any kind of new housing projects that were coming into the, or the housing developments?
Would include anything that came through the
We need-
planning office.
We're not sure we want to hire our own representation, right?
Well, part of the problem is depending on, how do I say this? Depending on how experienced your board is, and the person that's working in the land use office, some things can be handled and some can't. But it's like any other board, it's cycles. You'll get a board that will be around for several years and they pick up quite a bit and they're really sharp and on the ball. And then all of a sudden they get tired and you're gone and you get a new board and they can be, most of the time, they're very inexperienced. They're very willing to learn and they can learn.
But they need the
But it takes
professional.
time, and so when things happen, when you have these, what I call newbie boards, and things happen like this, then yes, you need to bring a professional in to help them, or you could end up with potential problems, the town could.
Yeah, I mean, traditionally, I'm looking back through 2006, we spent $1,750, so it does seem right around $2,000. Some years $53, some $0.
They didn't waste it, so they didn't use it.
And that 9,000 must have been because we planned ahead
Yes.
we budgeted the 9,000 for the,
Right. Well, I believe we
yeah, thanks for the experience.
1,000 so far.
Missed Police Department, what's up with the report on the,
Are we going through all of these tonight?
any questions on anything?
No, I was just curious if we plan on going through every department tonight.
Unless somebody wants to adjourn at some point.
Anytime would be fine with me.
I'll ask one more, okay.
No, that's fine.
I'll ask one more question. We'll just go around real
I
quick
just
here.
know some of these bigger ones may take up a lot of time.
The cruiser purchase plan that was submitted, I think, was it 2010? That said that we were going to buy, 0 last year and 2 this year.
I'm gonna ask the chief about it tonight, and he's gonna get it for me tomorrow. He's been out sick for 4 days. So,
Catherine has,
It's getting around.
Well, they're claiming this.
It's from the
he has a
staff
different one.
meetings.
what's that?
The one I have is old.
You guys are all passing the same cold around.
So I'm kind of curious why he's got to work on a new one.
I got a
since
cold
it's
from
already
Tim's
existing.
email.
Maybe it's email, it's a virus in the email.
Tim had a very nasty virus.
Hey, knock on wood, we don't even want to joke about it.
Brought up last week, they were surprised. And this is something I had found in my
School budget
stuff.
committee at this point in time, so.
I mean, is John
I
seeing
think
what
that's where it comes
Yeah.
from. You know how the schools are, with spreading things.
The question
So,
is,
yeah,
is
if you can get that, feel,
Why do we have
what our
4?
plan is,
Why isn't it?
and why we differed from it.
Gotta be a couple years old.
That's,
The, you mean in the PD or overall?
the PD.
Would be different in health insurance.
Yeah, the PD for the cruiser plan.
Oh, the cruise,
Yeah, we'll call it the cruiser plan. And anything else that anybody would want?
we believe that there was a revised plan after that. And that you never got the revised plan.
As we were talking before, the CBA is slowly coming to an end, that process, and should be done sometime next month?
No,
This month?
they have to be voted on and ratified by the 1st
Okay.
of February.
And again, just to clarify that, will be going as a warrant article at the town meeting.
The actual money, yes.
Actual monies, okay.
The only thing I was looking at is, heating costs. I know in the past we've raised it up each year because heating's going up. However, over the years, heating's actually gone down in the last few years. Heating costs and fuel costs, but yet our amounts come up, so I can just take a look at that at some point. Make sure we got the right numbers and that.
I have a question on the PD budget. Parking enforcement. Very much underspent.
We had 2 employees and both of them.
Yeah, I know, it didn't work out.
and one left.
So my question is, with the new hires to the police department, do we still need parking, separate people to enforce the parking? Why couldn't the patrolman do it? Since they're up to full complement, I hear.
It's still pretty good. Having someone walking around all the time downtown when they were here, it was a great help.
Well, we had someone walking around downtown before they're at what they consider full complement. So we have had, theoretically, it's been said to me, that they have been without a full complement for a number of years. Okay? The reason we had to hire enforcement officers is because they were not at full complement. Now it's been said to me that they're fully staffed. So my question is, now that they're fully staffed, if the reason they couldn't do it in the first place was because they weren't, why do we have to have them now if they're fully staffed? I think it's time our police department spends more time in downtown Tilton than at Exit 20 patrolling parking lots for entities that are supposed to be doing their own patrols, for one thing.
I can remember as a business owner in downtown for years, the police would come through and just randomly, every once in a while, come through and chalk tires, come back, an hour, 2 hours later, and just walk through, say hi to everybody, make a present, check the chalks, and do that. And, I agree, it's a good way to save some money, and it's been problematic having part-timers.
I think it's very sad.
I don't disagree with Catherine on that at all.
I think it's,
Right now, technically, we don't have a full complement, but we will have a full complement. We have a detective that's out, and Sonny that's coming back, and he's actually going to be on the bus tomorrow, but he won't be at the PD for another month, coming back from active duty. So, yeah, we're going to have a full complement, so it might be something we
Might be an
wanna
area
look at.
to possibly see.
Make a motion, I'll second.
Anything
Chief's
else?
coming in tomorrow at 4 o'clock. We can talk to him about it tomorrow, too.
I just think it's a shame that our PD spends more time at Exit 20. I have somebody that tried to burn down the pavilion, but I can't get the police to patrol it, and it's owned by the town of Tilton, but they spend lots of time at Exit 20.
Any questions that can be answered in 2 minutes or less?
Oh, at this point in time, what's the line item on that one?
Oh, you want to make a motion now?
Yep.
130.
130. Well, 4210, 5130.
Okay. I would make,
Salaries, parking, enforcement.
I would make a motion to reduce the funding of line item, whatever the number was, to zero at this point in time.
5130.
5130 to zero.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to reduce line item 5130 to read zero. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. 5130, zero. Were there any associated lines that go along with that?
I was gonna ask about overtime, the increase in overtime if they're full complement of officers.
That's why the increase, because we have more officers than we did last year. You'll also see more gas usage because you'll have more
Right,
car
I
usage.
understand that, but
and
if
you'll
we have more officers,
You'll have more uniforms, you'll have more
right,
bullets.
but if you have more
you'll have
officers,
more-
then wouldn't there be less officers working overtime if we have more officers working regular hours?
Each officer that makes an arrest has to appear in court.
Yeah.
Well, depending on the arrest.
And
So if you have more officers out there, you have more officers appearing in court. And a lot of times, that's what generates overtime,
Right, in
because they have to be available.
or
And
if they
sometimes
make
can-
an arrest right before they're about to go off duty
Exactly.
or pull a car over.
Yep, it's just the nature of the job.
Well, I understand. I was
And
just-
and Pat, just to reiterate, we have an officer who's coming back from active duty, but won't be eligible for actually mustering out for about a month or longer, depending on how long it takes. So we're going to be down that officer until he actually becomes from active duty to active reserve. We have a detective that is on leave at this point in time, and we have no date at that point in time when he will be returning to duty. So that could leave us too short for a period of time.
We also have an officer that's been out.
And we, Officer Bounce, okay.
Suspended.
So really, we're down 3 officers at this point in time. When those 3 come back into the force, then there'll be a full complement.
And we've had Officer Pauls retire.
Yes.
Full complement plus.
It's a difference of an opinion whether you think there are too many or enough.
It's difficult.
We have control officers right now that are...
What's the-
What
Probably
Catherine would call
private
a full
issue,
complement,
yeah.
but
Well, the
some of the
officer aren't
control
suspended.
officers are loaned...
I'd have to shoot you if I told you.
Right now, because we're down-
It's not public, it's employee.
We have also,
They're
Personnel
doing
matter.
other
Exactly.
jobs other than control.
now, does that
So
full
refreshing
complement
that you
also
understand
include the SRO?
Yes.
So you're really down that officer at this point in time also?
No, that was included in the full,
Okay.
yeah. That's
But you don't have him for 75% of, well, 180,
right,
188 days, is it?
180 days.
180 days.
But that's all planned. Plus, you don't plan the ones that leave to go to school and have jobs.
Do we raise up the amount for billing, Wayne brought, I was discussing it earlier, to the school district because, let's say the SRO, now, he's going to get a merit raise or whatever he gets.
Yes.
So that automatically
Yes.
filters through?
Contractual with the school each year.
Didn't think of that.
Tim renews the annual with the budget amount.
And that,
Actual amount, gas, everything. Uniform, everything.
Now,
Everything.
yeah, I was just saying, my understanding is that was,
67,000.
yeah, that was a 3-year contract,
Yeah.
and it's due for a re-up this year.
Yes, July of 2014.
So that negotiations will begin at that point in time.
We have to vote on it at town meeting, yes. You mean the police?
The contract for the
No,
SRO, the selectmen will review it, see if there needs to be any changes.
If any changes, and then what we do is we meet with the school if there's any significant changes, and we give them the update just before budget, so that they can put it in their budget to say, here's the new SRO figure.
Okay.
We
Because,
do that every year.
so you'll get tweaked last minute on that.
well, no, because my understanding was it was actually a written contract, so that
Yes,
is,
it is a written contract.
written contract, that's 3 years in length.
That's correct, but every year it gets adjusted according to
Right.
what their
And I
actual
understand that.
amount is.
Is there any other components to that contract financially that we need to be aware of as we go through the budgeting process?
So we've gone through every...
Cruiser, we've accounted for everything.
It's one figure for cruiser, gas, the officer, everything that's included with the officer wages, retirement for the fighter, all that. So Tim's figured it right out to the penny. And that's the figure that we gave to the school, that's the figure they accepted. So with the new contract, 2014, they will have a 3-year window of looking at what it would be 2014,
Okay.
15, 16, and part of 17. And they'll adjust the numbers according to that, the budgetary.
So that school contract in part really reflects the CBA, any changes in the CBA. Okay.
Yep.
That was where it was unclear.
Right.
When I worked at the academy.
Well, the CBA
Of
is
community policing, which was exactly putting police officers
use of the car
on
and
sidewalks
things like
to...
that, so.
Right. Well, and the question was there an actual written contract where the school said this, this, and this?
There is.
And that is up every 3 years at this point in time.
Contract with duties.
As a citizen, do I really care about the drug guy that comes into Super 8, meets another drug guy, makes a
Okay,
deal,
good.
and then leaves town? Or am I more concerned about the guy that's
John?
trying to burn down the pavilion?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
So moved.
I think I'm more concerned about the pavilion.
45.
And they really did try, somebody tried to buy it.